And it says, so it says, 1 Samuel, chapter 15, 13 through 20. Somebody wants to bust that open and read it. Yeah.
And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed be you to the Lord. I have performed the commandments of the Lord. And Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen that I hear? Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have devoted to destruction. Then Samuel said to Saul, Stop, I will tell you what the Lord said to me this night. And he said to him, Speak. And Samuel said, Though um, though you are little in your own eyes, you are not the head of the tribes of Israel. The Lord anointed the king. The Lord anointed you king over Israel. And the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go, devote to destruction the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you pounce on the spoils and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said to Samuel, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord. I have gone on a mission on which the Lord sent me. I have brought Agag and the king of Amalek, and I have devoted the Amalekites to destruction.
Amen. So the first question is, how did Saul try to rationalize that his disobedience was really obedience?
He tried to make it seem like the reason why he kept all this stuff and didn't go through and kill everything was that he said that he was going to sacrifice them to God, but that's not what he told him to do.
In the NIV, Saul claims it was the soldiers that brought the best for the king. So, I don't know who. And then again here, in verse 15 says, and they have brought from the Amalekites, the people spared the best. And so then he claimed we destroyed everything else. So we just try to make it sound like they did a good thing by bringing the sacrifice, but ultimately, like he's like first pointing the finger at, well, they did. So yeah, I kind of did what I was supposed to do.
Amen.
Same thing. He said they saved the best as sacrifice to God. And he said he did do what he was told of the Lord. But I think he thought he was doing the Lord a favor.
Yeah, because it's basically similar to what I have here. I mean, it was, talking about the fact that we do try to rationalize. I think about it like a kid. When a kid does something and gets caught in the act, and they try to make it sound like that they really wasn't doing what you caught them doing, even though you caught them doing it. And they're trying to explain, well, I was, or they'll tell
them something.
Oh yeah, and they'll turn around. Well, the reason why I did it is because so and so told me that I should do it. And of course, the old favorite saying, they jumped off a mountain, we just jump off a mountain too, and our cliff. And so, I mean, that's kind of like, getting your hand caught with your hand in the cookie jar. So Saul's reaction was to me like a child as opposed to an adult or a man. So, anybody else? Amen. It says, how do you rationalize when you are disobedient and don't want to admit it?
Tell yourself that nobody knows. Maybe just this one time, you just completely ignore it.
or when we get caught, we try to say, well, I was doing this though, but you're still doing the wrong thing as well.
I think mine is kind of some like yours. You just express how it had benefited others, or you know, or yourself, and then you point out the fact that the good that may have come from it, even though it was the wrong thing to do. And you say, well, this didn't happen, or you can kind of shine up the good points of it, even though you have no business doing whatever.
Yeah, because I kind of went back. I don't know who said it last week or so, but they were talking about how, going to jail. I think it may have been you, Trey. That I didn't kill nobody. So we try to rationalize, or look at our deficiency as being something not as bad as somebody else's. So that's what that and basically, the old saying that you hear a lot of people say, "Well, God knows my heart." Trying to make it sound like, what, I usually do better, or you come up with a million excuses on what really. But the bad thing is God does know your heart, so He knows the intent behind what you do when you do what you do. Anybody else? Number 10 says, in what ways do we believe that living a completely obedient life can cost you your career, friendship, and social status?
I put that like, if we are actually, living obedience to what the Lord says, that it's going to affect, say, in the workplace, where speaking about, the Lord and that thing, like now is discouraged, and or it may rub somebody the wrong way, particularly somebody in management, because they always say, don't talk about that around here in the workplace, blah, blah, blah. So that, in a sense, if you're being completely obedient, you're gonna speak up when everybody else would be quiet. And then, as far as friendships, if you speak against, bring up the wrong or something that they might have done, or them living, if they are in fact believers, because then you wouldn't come at them the same way, because they don't know what you're talking about. But if it's a brother or a sister, then you're trying to help them from going down the wrong path. If you say something to them, you could possibly, like say, if you don't gain them back as a brother or sister, then yeah, you might lose them, because they might just like, turn and go, well, you know what, we're done. Because we don't agree with them, then we're not their friend, So, and then the last part is social status, and the only thing I wrote was like, you might feel alienated, or you won't get as many likes on Facebook or whatever social media. That's how it might affect you, if that bothers you.
Mine was kind of like hers, like what she said about friends. Like when you tell them something they don't want to hear, when you start to change, and they ask you, like, "Man, what's going on with you?" Then like you start finding out who your true friends are, and
Along the same lines, understanding Christ is not for all. It takes a lot of sacrifices was made. You may not affect your job. Like Trey said, you'll find out who your true friends really are. You may have to cut away extra baggage. And I just thought of a hot air balloon. If it doesn't lift, you have to drop the weight. And that weight might be those friends, or those so-called friends.
And sin and whatever else keeps you from
Yeah,
going to the heights that the Lord has for you.
Because like Nita said, a lot of times if you're trying to share the word with your friends or even family members, there's always going to be some that bring up the past. So you used to do this. This is the way you used to be. You know. So,
Well,
it's
that's,
hard.
well, and sometimes to me, your past can fuel you to be better or be different, even though other people want to bring it up. I mean, you know, in the end, it's what we make of it. Because I had the Matthew 7, 13, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who go through it. How narrow is the gate and difficult the road that leads to life, and few find it. Because to me, I mean that, and I mean Christ himself said because he was persecuted, we be persecuted. So I mean, trying to be, that doesn't mean along the way, because in the opposite aspect, the enemy wants us to believe because we don't always be obedient, that we should walk around in shame, which takes away the opportunity for God to give grace and mercy. But I mean, we don't take advantage of it. But I mean, with that, I mean, if you're going to take a stand, I mean, because typically, people don't like truth, because truth reveals truth. And so, I mean, it's and just like Nita said, I talked about the fact that, which I've not let it affect me, but I mean, sometimes sharing on your job, can put people in a position where they feel like they're being, or they'll use it as an example, whether he's always beating me up with that or talking about that, and so I mean, religious persecution, but I mean, me personally, I've never allowed it to silence me, even when I had managers meetings, if the Lord put something in my heart, I say it, but I mean, I don't get in too much depth behind it, because just like that would probably cause some, frustration. And as far as friends, I mean, again, not even biblically speaking, that I don't consider a lot of people to be friends, because I got a handful that I confide in and know that they'll have my back. But I mean, as far as social status, I mean, I mean, anytime you stand, I mean, sometimes you'll stand alone. That's the reason why, I've always looked up to Martin Luther King, to be able to take the stance and the way he did it, as opposed to the way that other people wanted him to do it. He did it in peace and in love, as opposed to hate and anger. And so, with that, it put himself in a position to stand a lot of times when nobody else would. But yet, I mean, we see the impact that he made on history. So, I mean, eventually people will, people draw to it, whether we realize it or not. At first, they may not like it, but they do end up drawing to it, or they completely go the opposite direction. So,
my dad said, he said, I believe the more obedient we are, the more we go against the grain of the world. Being obedient to God isn't popular with society.
exactly. By no means whatsoever. Anybody else? Amen. It says, read 1 Samuel 15, 21 through 35. You got it?
Then my troops brought in the best of the sheep, goats, cattle, and plunder to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. But Samuel replied, what is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Then Saul admitted to Samuel, yes, I have sinned. I have disobeyed your instructions and the Lord's command. For I was afraid of the people and did what they demanded. But now please forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh. But Samuel replied, I will not go back with you. Since you have rejected the Lord's command, he has rejected you as king of Israel. As Samuel turned to go, Saul tried to hold him back and tore the hem of his robe. And Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to someone else, one who is better than you. And he who is the glory of Israel will not lie, nor will he change his mind, for he is not human that he should change his mind." Then Saul pleaded again, "I know I have sinned, but please at least honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel by coming back with me so that I may worship the Lord your God." So Samuel finally agreed and went back with him, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, "Bring King Agag to me." Agag arrived full of hope, for he thought, "Surely the worst is over, and I have been spared." But Samuel said, "As your sword has killed the sons of many mothers, now your mother will be childless." And Samuel cut Agag to pieces before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel returned. Then Samuel went home to Ramah, and Saul returned to his house at Gibeah of Saul. Samuel never went to meet with Saul again, but he mourned constantly for him, and the Lord was sorry he had ever made Saul king of Israel.
Hmm. Hmm. So it says, what must you give up in order to be obedient to God in all things?
I should relinquish my own desires and wishes to be in control. I must submit it to God fully in all things.
Mhm.
And give up sin where that might be. And give up selfish things, people, relationships, job.
I thought like the three in the question before, because sometimes to people those can be like the most or the biggest reason why they don't want to do certain things because they want to be friends with everybody or they don't want to hurt anybody's feeling. But sometimes you have to be obedient, and sometimes things have to happen for your good.
Mhm. Yeah, but Matthew 16, verse 24, then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." Huh? Did you? Yeah, I mean, in order to be obedient, just like you said, it takes, which can be difficult at times, it takes us giving up whatever that thing is that keeps us from fully experiencing God and doing what He commands us to do. Anybody else? Amen. 12 says specifically, what price must you pay to be obedient to God in all the areas of your life?
Just like you said in verse, with I have 16:25. It says, "I must die to self or give up my life in order to save it for Christ's sake." 17:33 says, "Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it."
That's right. Anybody else?
Right. It depends on where you are in the walk, and I think that what I meant by that was, I guess the level of difficulty of this, because if you're more mature in your walk, it may be easier to sacrifice and to give up certain things versus as a new convert. There's, like Trey said, you want to hold on to your friends, your status, or just your way of living. When we're truly obedient, and like the scripture said, you gotta lay down and start to cross. And we do that.
of course, I used the scripture that Linda said, and then I said giving up something sometimes becomes inconvenient, but the Lord by your side will help you be able to struggle or get through whatever struggles you may be going through. But to specifically give up the things means that it has to specifically mean something to you. So which makes it very, very difficult. Because typically when it comes to most of us, that thing that God wants us to give up is something that we don't want to give up. Or it requires, effort, Going back to what Sunday, faith without works is dead. I mean, you have to have faith that God will be able to help you with whatever it is that you're specifically asked to give up. That's the reason why I think fasting is so important sometimes. I mean, it's easy to give up something like, I'm not going to eat breakfast. Well, if you never ate breakfast to begin with, that's not no big deal. But to turn around and ask, to give up something that, because to me, if you evaluate where you are, what you're walking with, and you go, okay, well, this is what I spend more time doing more than anything outside of, read the word and work. I mean, obviously work eats up most of everybody's day, but, I'm going to fast forward for a week. But, I mean, you find something that would probably, be quite difficult.
Uncomfortable.
You learn to rely upon them. Huh?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and in that process, the thing is again, is to get more of God. It's not to just do it so that I can lose weight. I mean, that's a great benefit from it. But I mean, in the end, I mean, it's, to obviously draw you closer to the Lord. So, anybody else? You? All right. So it says Christ sets the ultimate standard for obedience. Matthew 26, verses 36 through 39.
Got it.
That,
Says, then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and he said, sit here while I go over here to pray. He took Peter and Zebedee's two sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little farther and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine.
So it says, is there a cup that God is calling you to drink? And if so, what is it?
Like, be forgiving, to help those who don't see this or his love, through my life, knowing that like Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned, so we can't be judgmental when others do wrong because we all did something and or doing something wrong, and our forgiveness and Matthew 6 and 14. 15 says, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. And so it's like, just knowing that we are all in need of forgiveness. So you can't hold on to it. But be willing to, offer forgiveness to those who wrong us or anybody.
I guess I would say, I guess mine would be, I guess the word would be becoming more communicative. If that's the word. I mean, like, not just, no, I mean, no, communicative is the word. It's like, like just not with just the people in their own household, but just like trying to get out of like my comfort zone and just like be able to talk to people about and to be able to talk to people about God's word and not worry about what they're gonna think about it.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, I mean, I said, there's different parts or different walks that, depending upon what the Lord's asking me to drink at that particular moment. Um, I mean, even like right now, I mean, at my job and the struggle that I'm having with it, to drink the cup of patience at this particular time has been somewhat difficult because, I'm kind of want this thing to be over with. And so, I mean, and yet I get frustrated. And so, I think about that, the spirit drinking a cup of self-control, so let me get the best of me. And the reactions that I have sometimes that aren't, the ones that I know the Lord's calling me to do that. So, anybody else? Number 14 says, what steps are you taking today to be Christ-like in your obedience?
Necessarily in order. Listening and obeying. Making Jesus center of my life. Being more conscientious of everything and every thought. Staying focused on living a lifestyle of depending on Jesus.
Mm.
I just feel by seeking God's will first, like in matters, all matters of importance, but mostly Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things should be added to." So, to be um, more apt to pray first and seek His will rather than reacting out of the flesh, out of whatever emotion that comes up first.
I guess for me, I mean, like at school, I just I have a very low. And that sounds really bad, but like I don't know, EDC tolerance. So like when people are just doing dumb stuff for no reason, I just sometimes I'll say something and it might not be the best use of words. So like just trying to I don't know, be able to control my tongue at that time and just wait and think of a better way to respond in that moment.
Yeah, for me, uh, I said, I kind of did what Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, that I pray that not my will would be done, but His will would be done, but then also surround myself that I can, with people that I can learn to lean upon, as in Proverbs, iron sharpens iron. So, but sometimes it can be somewhat difficult to be obedient when things aren't going as planned. Life is a struggle, but in that struggle, it doesn't change the fact that we should still remain obedient. So, anybody else? Alrighty. Number 15 says, are you taking these steps on this?
Steps forward. Most of the time. Most of the time. I think even if we don't, for the majority of the day, just because the Spirit is in us, we finally come to ourselves, so to speak, and get back on, the path that the Lord would have for us and seek, His will or His direction instead of trying to figure it out. We went all day just ranting and raving about something or worrying and complaining and moaning and groaning about whatever that we couldn't do anything about anyway. And then we found it, okay, let me pray about this and just, because it's not meant for us to deal with or handle on our own as it is. And if we just give it to Him, because He said, cast cares on Him, so then we don't, have to worry about what happened back home. And put it in His hands and trust Him. We always have to on something, and that's the hardest thing. It's just not being in control, not, because we all want to know what's going to happen, how it's going to end, what comes next. And that's not how I pray. He doesn't show us like the whole picture. We just get the puzzle piece that's in front of us now. So.
Wait, answer this question. I'd like to say yes, but I mean I know that's not true. So I try to do it as much as possible. And I know it's not just something that I can fix on my own. I have to be able to take that to God and ask Him for help in that.
To add to question, you take these steps on a daily basis. Like Trey said, most of the time you try to do that, but it's not just on a daily basis, but it's each step. It's one step at a time. In one day at a time.
Yeah, but not always am I doing it daily. The ideal, like Tracy, the ideal goal would be to do it daily. But some days are more difficult than others to carry out that Christ-like obedience. And I know for me, it just depends upon, I think I wake up every morning with the right intention to start it off that way. But somewhere along the lines, somebody cuts me off, or get to work and customers all upset, or one of your coworkers calling sick, or they irritate you, and the next thing you know, the intention that you started off the day with, doesn't it, like I talked to a lady today that this is my first time to actually stay in the office as long as I have, because I'm going to stay home pretty much every day. And she's like, man, my day started off so good, and it went from, one bad thing happened to another bad thing happened, to now my days just fell apart. And I was like, yeah, isn't that like life? Which made me got thinking about this. In order for something to become a daily thing, you have to create habits. And it's hard to create a habit. They say it takes up to 21 days to create a habit. And even that, it's something as simple as encouraging ourselves every morning we get up. Because there's some mornings you just don't want to get up. That's when I tell people all the time, it's not that difficult to be bad. All I got to do is just sit in bed and not do anything. That's pretty bad. But to do something good or to be motivated takes effort. And so to do something just like this, what steps do we take on a daily basis to get to that point where, we are obedient in a Christ-like manner? And, can't say that it happens every single day. Would I like it to happen every day? Of course I would. But now and then, the old me pops back up and gets frustrated or angry, and my reaction is not one that people will be like, oh, that is real Christ-like. So, like I said, yes, I try to daily, but it becomes very difficult during certain days. Anybody else? Any comments? All right, well, pretty simple, short Bible study tonight. And we'll go ahead and close it out for this evening, and we'll pick up next Tuesday with a new topic.